Hey, friends and listeners of the Switch for Good podcast. Yep, that's you. I have some really exciting news. Dotsie and I have started a Switch for Good podcast Facebook group. We created it so we can build a community of fans that will help us improve the show and deliver on the topics that you want to learn more about. So we want to hear what your favorite content is, what you want more of, and what you want less of. And if you like the length of the show, Dotsie and I are always talking about the length of the show, right, Dotsie?
Yes.
We want to tailor our show around the needs and desires of our incredible listeners, almost 500,000 of you. And it's really simple to join. Just go to our Switch for Good Facebook page. That's Switch, the number 4, and then Good. And then click on groups. And there we are, the Switch for Good podcast chat. You can post directly in the group, share ideas, talk to other listeners, and connect with like-minded folks. So go, run, join our Facebook group and tell us what you want. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Switch for Good podcast. I'm Alexandra Paul, and I'm here with Dotsie Bausch, my co-host. Hi, Dotsie.
Hello, I'm excited to learn about zero waste today, or almost no waste, I'm going to call it, because I don't know about the zero thing, but.
So, Dotsie, you know, before I was an animal rights activist, I know that you know this, I was an environmentalist. When I was 7, I wrote to President Nixon and asked him to stop pollution. And he wrote a letter.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he wrote back, and my sister also wrote to him and our friend Nancy, and we all got the same letter, and we realized, oh, it was a form letter, but we didn't care because at least we got a letter. And when I went vegetarian a few years later, when I was 14, it was because of a book, that book I read, Diet for a Small Planet, and it was for environmental reasons that I actually went vegetarian. And I've always believed that if each of us walk our talk, that can have profound impacts on the world. And actually, ironically, it's the hardest thing to do than move mountains, is to just walk your talk on a daily basis. So I'm really excited about our guest today, Shia Su, to help me move further in my environmentalism, especially as it comes to living more simply. Because Ian and I actually, Dotsie, we do a really good job compared to the average American. So we compost, we have a composter, we recycle, we get things secondhand like crazy, and it drives people nutty. I mean, I used to have an answering machine that I would bring in to the electronics repair shop, and the guy would tell me, you know, it's cheaper if you just buy a new answering machine. And I would say, well, it's not cheaper for the planet. And I would think to myself, hey, guy, I'm giving you business. Why are you trying to tell me to buy a new answering machine? But that is the mentality of Americans. So repairing is a big thing in art with Ian and I, but it's hard to repair things in our society because everyone wants you to buy things. Luckily, one of the good things about the modern age is Craigslist and eBay, because we've bought our dishes, our silverware, our glassware, even our napkins are all bought online secondhand. And my hairdryer is secondhand. My microwave is used. I got it through Craigslist. And much to my sister's chagrin, because she's an author and she believes that we should buy books to support author, I actually use the library. And I think the library is an amazing place. So I get 99% of my books from the library. And this is all for the environment. It's not to save money, although you do save a lot of money. The one place I have, Dotsie, tell me if this is, I don't like buying clothes secondhand.
I do not do nearly as much secondhand as you just listed. So yeah, I'm just going to be open that I don't buy clothes secondhand. I wish I did, but I get a little, I don't think I don't know. There's a strange smell when I walk into the secondhand store. It's so crappy of me to say, but it's super personal, like especially pants and shorts and things, like it's just personal. That's the personal space down there. And I don't know, but maybe I'm crazy because probably, wherever the factory is that it came from, who knows what's on the material, who knows what's on the fabric, who knows? And that's close to your privates too. So, I'm probably not making any sense.
Actually, two of my favorite sweaters came from Goodwill, I have to say, because I went through a period where I was really trying to buy secondhand stuff, but I really could only get myself really covered. I bought t-shirts to work out in, actually, and also sweaters, but that was the extent of it.
You're really good. I mean, not everyone has access to this, but I know that you're great about the clothes that you get to keep from your jobs on set. You wear them.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of secondhand, just because otherwise what were they going to do with them? Probably dispose of them, maybe.
Yeah, I do ask for the clothes on set that I because they've bought them for me, and I figure, well, just wear. But I actually often, like the last movie I did, I didn't take a single thing, even though it was in my contract, because I'm also trying to have fewer possessions. One of the things that I've learned is that I really want to have fewer possessions and have many fewer clothes. And you really have to look at yourself and ask yourself who you are. Are you a person who goes out at night? If so, you need more stuff for going out at night. Are you a person who needs more sports clothes? That's me. I want enough leggings so I don't have to do a laundry load just so I can get more leggings. So you need to kind of ask yourself, when you declutter your house, what's important and what's not. But the great thing is that when I do it, I've never regretted giving anything away or getting rid of anything. And two, the things that you do have that you got secondhand, you appreciate so much more. Because I bought luggage from a woman online, and I went to pick up the luggage from her, and it was an ugly ass suitcase when I needed a big suitcase and I didn't have one, and I wasn't going to go out and buy a suitcase just for it. And so she was sad to get rid of her luggage. She told me all about where that luggage had been, and she was genuinely nostalgic. I really was fond of it because it had a history. People who just buy things without thinking, and then they just don't really value what they have as much as people who have fewer things. So we're going to learn about that, how you can live a happy life with fewer things and less wastefully also. And hopefully I'll get some help with my plastic use, which I really want to cut down on. So,
and my Ziploc bag use. We're going to die. I'm not going to let her off the hook with that. I'm going to leave this episode not using Ziploc bags anymore and figure out what I'm supposed to get.
That is a great goal. Okay. The pandemic made many of us step back from our sustainability efforts. We disposed masks like they were Kleenex. Coffee shops were no longer allowed to refill our reusable water bottles, and we heavily relied on shipping to avoid close contact with others. I personally was really irritated that the grocery stores wouldn't even let me bring my bag in. Today's guest is going to help us get back on track. Shia Su is the woman behind Wasteland Rebel, a blog about living a zero-waste lifestyle. Both she and her husband are vegan, minimalist, and can fit all their trash for the entire year into a mason jar. Okay, that might sound intimidating, but she didn't get there overnight, and she encourages everyone to change at their own pace. Shia is also an author and a former vegan baking blogger by the name of Kate Invasion. So let's all start with that first intentional shift today. Shia, we're excited to learn all we can about stepping more lightly on the planet. Welcome to Switch for Good.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. I bet you can tell.
So let's start with you and how you became interested in living a simpler, more sustainable lifestyle.
Well, I'd say we never really, my husband and I, we tried to go vegetarian. It took, I think, about 2 years. And then we were like, oh, vegan would be awesome, but we'll probably never get there. And we just did all those tiny baby steps with a direction, but never with like this huge, intimidating end goal of becoming completely vegan. And then we tried to reduce our trash, like, bring our own cup to the coffee shop, those small little things, trying to remember to bring our own reusable bags. And sometimes we'd forget, I think, like everybody. But after a while, it's, step by step, it becomes a habit, but it takes quite a long time. And then we met so many amazing people along the line, like shop owners. We talked to them, we tried to have a conversation with them and just ask them for advice, like, what could we do if we brought our own food containers? How could we make this work? And I thought it was amazing because they came up with all the amazing ideas, just like, oh, hang on, we do have plates. We can put everything onto the plate, onto the scale, and then give you the plate with everything on top of it, and you just transfer it into your own container. And it was like, oh, that's amazing. So they had all the good ideas and helped us, and it was just so much fun, and we kept going and going. And I don't know, eventually got there, even though we thought it would be impossible.
So I love that, as Alexandra pointed out in your intro, that, and you are just saying, it took time, it took a while, it took many steps to get there. And do you call this turtle speed power?
Yes, I do. Turtle speed power. Actually, my editor, she wanted it out. She was like, slow and steady wins the race. And was like, no, that's not fun,
Right.
That just sounds so yeah, I mean, it should be fun. And we had a lot of fun and really, really a lot of fails. And I think it's just part of it. And learning new things can be so satisfying as well, even if sometimes it doesn't work the way you thought it would.
Yeah. Lay that out for people in terms of getting to a minimalist living and close to a zero waste. People listening, especially me, and I don't want to talk too much about me, but I need the most help of the three of us here. And I'm sure that many of our listeners are in alignment with, I don't even really know where to start. What would be some typical things that people do on a daily basis that they can take an easy step forward in their daily life to make a change, maybe at turtle speed power, or maybe a couple of things that we could just do, like, okay, I could do that starting tomorrow?
I think it's so personal because I love to have conversations. I love people. Well, with Corona and physical distancing, that's become more difficult, but I love to talk to people. So I have always been the person at a coffee shop to just ask them, would it be okay if I came with my own reusable cup? Would it be okay to do this or to try that? So I love talking to people, but I know a lot of my friends, they're really shy and that's not their thing. And I usually tell them to start where you feel safe, and you feel safest in your own home, and maybe start in the bathroom, because you can buy soap pretty much anywhere. A bar of soap, you can go into any health food store or even grocery store, and you can buy that very often, even completely without the wrapper or anything, completely zero waste. And that's so easy, because a bar of soap, cast-out soap, you can use it for anything. You can use it instead of shampoo, body wash, of course, to wash our hands in this pandemic. It's so, and even as a dish soap, we just have a bar of soap next to the sink and it gets the job done. It's so easy. Such a simple swap can go a very long way. It's nothing where you have to feel insecure going out and to tell people, oh, I'm kind of different. I try to be eco-conscious, and people look at you like, oh, you're one of those. So you can try what's easy at home. And also, I think it has to be fun. Don't start with what you think would be the most difficult challenge. Start small, what seems manageable, and start with things that, if you're into DIYs, by all means, start making your own products. Just whatever works for you, whatever gets you excited.
So give us some examples of things you've done in your home that are simple swap outs or simple changes that you think will help our audience do the same.
And if we could make it personal, I have a problem with Ziploc bags. I'm just going to admit that for the first time right now. And every time I use one, I told Alexandra this before you came on, I think to myself, I mean, I've been vegan for, 10 or so years, and it's for the animals. And I sit there and think, wait, Dulcie, what are you doing? Like, this is going to end up in the stomach of a fish, or this is going to end up suffocating a turtle. Or, I mean, it just, obviously it's not in alignment with how I think I'm living at all, but it's habit. And that's when I get down to it, I don't have any other answer besides habit. That's what we had a Ziploc bag problem since I was born. So not blaming this on my mom. I love you, Mom. But it's the case. So that wrap plastic bags into your answer, because I need help.
What do you use Ziploc bags for? I feel like people use them for all kinds of things. What is it for you?
Food. I will not waste food. So if I'm at a restaurant and there's like one bite left, I'll like take it home. So always the tomato cut in half, the onion cut in half, the avocado cut in half. Yeah. Food mostly, I would say. Okay.
So it's for leftovers, and it's also for prepping your meals, basically.
Yeah, or if I'm going to go to the studio, which we're not in now, with Alexandra to shoot, she's seen it. I've got stuff in, some reusable Tupperware, but I've got it in plastic too. Like if I'm going to take the other half of the orange, it's in a plastic bag. Yeah.
Yeah, reusable Tupperware is awesome. My mom, she actually still uses Ziploc bags, like most people do, and she rinses them out and reuses them. So that's one option if you have that habit, to try to cut down at least the amount. So that's pretty easy and no shame in that. And also what I do, if I have half an onion, I put it on a plate upside down and put maybe a bowl to cover it.
Okay.
And those little things in the kitchen, because that's how I grew up. My mom, she was always like, oh no, that's, using those products can also not be very cost effective because they're disposables. You have to buy them over and over again. And she was always like to save money, to be more cost efficient, to do that. And also to put things in the freezer. If your freezer compartment or freezer unit you want to stuff more food in, you can also buy some reusable silicone Ziploc bags. Those exist as well. So that's a simple swap, or just use food containers or bowls and plates.
Okay. Awesome.
How do you feel about using paper? I always feel when I go to the store, I look at things and see what's the packaging, and paper comes out first, is on top, cans, metal cans, and plastics at the bottom. So when we go and ask, when we go to the deli section forever, they always want to give you a plastic, and I have to beg them, the soup, the paper soup container over at the soup bar, because they're usually paper. What is your hierarchy of materials?
It's always reusables first. I'm lucky because I used to live in Vancouver, and now I'm back to living in Germany, and we have a lot of we call them deposit systems. So we have a lot of reusable bottles, a lot of reusable things that, there's a whole system like Germany-wide, for example, for these things. So that makes things a lot easier with reusables. But it's always reusables, bring your own containers. Then it's paper for me for the most part. And then I have glass because it's reusable, it's easily recyclable. But glass jars, it's difficult because the longer the transport, the more emissions, CO2 emissions, the transportation causes, because glass is a really heavy material. So that's farther down. And then, cans, but I don't really buy those. They're recyclable, but they're not reusable. So that can be difficult. That's kind of and then comes plastic. That's kind of my hierarchy. But it's always so tricky because it depends on so many things, like the supply chain, how local the product is.
So that brings up a good point. We dove right into the how, but let's back up to the why. I mean, for most people, including myself, it's like, what are the real reasons that zero waste should even be a goal? What am I striving towards? What is the current damage waste is doing to the planet, to the world? Why do I need to even listen to the rest of this podcast?
Well, first of all, zero waste isn't the only way to help fight climate change. It's one way. I mean, you're a vegan, that's awesome too. I'm also a vegan. And there's so many things we can do. We can cut down on transportation, like mobility, use our cars less, cycle more, all of that. But if it comes to waste, for me, it's because I feel we are this planet, and all of us are kind of drowning in waste. We don't always have a good recycling system. A lot of the resources we use to make packaging, that's lost along the way. It's being dumped into landfills. We never retrieve those things anymore. And it's really harmful. It pollutes the environment, soil, or groundwater. And it's also really bad. We all know about plastics in the oceans. Whenever our trash ends up in the ocean, it can lead to so much suffering for all the animals.
And our recycling system, I used to be, and still am an avid recycler, but as I'm doing it now in the last couple of years, I've learned that recycling is really not being done, especially for plastics, that we just, Americans send it over to poorer countries. We pay poorer countries to take it. They often say that they are recycling it, but really they're not. And so it's really best that we get rid of plastics altogether. Shia, what are some of the alternatives for plastics that provide the same lightness and I guess maybe cheap to make? Because the biggest irony about plastic is that it's the most used material for one use things, but it is the most durable and lasts the longest of pretty much any other material.
That's also really complicated. Speaking of, well, systemically, we would need a material that's pretty close to plastic. We have so many supply chains that are just so global. So we feel the need that everything needs to be protected. And we do that by packaging, by using packaging and by using a lot of plastic because it's light, it's easier to transport it. But yes, it's single use and it's very durable. It doesn't break down. And if it breaks down, it's into smaller pieces of plastics, into microplastic. So that's a huge issue. So we as consumers, there isn't a lot we can do except for voting with our money to be conscious about what we buy, what we support. I always feel like it's like who you want to give your money to let them do business. And of course, you want to give the money to more conscious and earth-friendly companies so they can do better. We don't always have the power, but that's what we can do to change the system as a whole, because we need shorter supply chains so we don't feel like we need that much plastic and that much packaging in total.
Hence the local, buying local.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what do you think about I think it's kind of a misnomer that can be more expensive. We read a quote by you that you and your during your studies, you and Hanno, your husband, like to talk. You guys would discuss how you could live more sustainably, but that it's so expensive. So you kind of said, well, once we make more money, then we can start paying the real price for things, the price that things cost when you produce them without exploitation and other ways. So, convenience is, really, I think, as we've just been saying, one of the main reasons people use single-use things. And then, in COVID, kind of cleanliness, like I was starting to get towards, just because I, watch Alexandra in action. I used to buy a lot of, pre-chopped veggies, just pre-chopped anything in bags or, hard plastic containers. And so I started not doing that and buying, just like the whole carrot, imagine that. But then I would just put it on the conveyor belt at the grocery store. And then COVID came and it was like, well, that's disgusting. All of a sudden, like I'm not just going to lay all my potatoes and peppers and tomatoes on the belt. So what do you think about that in terms of expensive or not so expensive, with all of the the local aspect of buying things, and then how to do that at a grocery store or even at a farmer's market in a way that is clean?
I think it is true that we do now spend more money on food, but we save money because we don't buy things that we don't need anymore. So I wouldn't buy another t-shirt because I have like, I don't know how many t-shirts, but quite a few in my closet, and I'm okay with it. So I am more conscious about what I buy. So we, in total, my husband and I, we spend more money on food, on groceries. We go to the farmer's market. We have now joined, well, I say now, a year ago when COVID just started, we joined a CSA, community supported agriculture. Every farm has their own system, and we go to a place where we have to kind of weigh everything ourselves and put it into our own boxes. But yeah, so it's not a delivery kind of thing, but I know some CSA farms do that. So we've joined a CSA farm, which is awesome during the pandemic because I hate grocery stores now. And it's also, I know the farm, I can go there by my bike and it takes 20 minutes to get there. So that's amazing. I love CSA, so everybody should check that out. It's so safe. You don't have to put anything onto a conveyor belt. But of course, I am very, very, very privileged that we don't even have one zero waste shop. We have, I think, now 7 in the city where I live in Germany, which is amazing. So I can get everything refilled there. And I know that a lot of zero waste shops, they have a system now that you can give them all your containers or cloth bags, and they will fill it up for you, and you can just leave it there with them, go back to get that after your work or an hour later, and that's also very safe.
So I don't even have any idea what you're talking about, a zero waste shop.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Back it up. Alexandra probably does.
It's been a huge thing all over Europe in the last couple of years.
Okay.
And there have been, I think now in the German-speaking countries, more than 300 zero waste shops. Those are refill shops. You can go there, bring your own containers, your own jars, whatever you feel like, and you can just, well, they're like those bins. I think they're called gravity bins, whatever, very technical. And you can just get your stuff fill it into your own containers, and you just pay for what you need.
So stuff meaning like groceries?
Oh, sorry, dry goods. Usually dry goods. Okay. Sometimes they have produce, they have everything, soap, dish soap, cleaning products, and you can just go there with your own containers and get everything, refill everything over and over again.
Do we have those in California?
So tell me what the best ones are that you know of in North America, since you used to live in Vancouver.
Well, Vancouver, there's there's Nada, it's called. It's a bulk store for dry goods, and then there are a lot of grocery stores and health food stores with bulk sections. But I think now during the pandemic, some of them require you to use the plastic bags that they provide. Doesn't always make sense, but it is the way it is. And there's also the soap dispensary, which started as a soap refill store, but now they have everything. They have so many, and they try to support the local scene, I always call it, because they're kind of like, oh, there's a lady that makes pierogies, and there's one that makes kimchi, and let's get their products into the store. So they're amazing. I love that store. It's so pretty to go there. You can just leave all the containers there. They'll fill it up for you. You just tell them like, oh, that's for baking soda. This is for, I don't know, oats, and they'll do everything for you. The service is amazing. And in California, because I have traveled to California by train. Well, it was an adventure, but it was a lot of fun. And I know of so many co-ops that have like huge bulk sections that they even have a system just like, oh yeah, like with my mason jars, I didn't have to weigh them in advance to tell them, oh, that's kind of like the weight you need to subtract. Because they were like, oh yeah, it's all already in the system. People come here with mason jars all the time. Like we have all the different sizes stored in our system. And I go, wow, that's amazing. And I know in San Francisco, Rainbow Groceries, they have everything in bulk. I was in heaven, in zero waste heaven. They had, I think, 3 kinds of miso, and I had never seen miso sold in bulk. And I was like, okay, can I just, bring my own container, put it into my own container. Are you okay with it? And then we're like, yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. I was like, wow, that's so cool.
So talk to us a little bit more about these things that you do. You said you travel by train. You and your husband live only in 320 square feet. So you obviously don't have a lot of stuff in the first place. But talk to us about some of the other things. I really want our audience to get some ideas about how they can live more sustainably and have fewer things, that they don't need as many things as they think. For example, when you go out during the day, that's what a lot of people say. Well, I didn't have anything, so I took their plastic forks. Tell us what you do to minimize waste over the course of a day, for example.
Actually, it's a lot easier than I initially even thought it would be, because let's be honest, we're all creatures of habit. So we always go to the same restaurants. We always go to the same grocery stores. And after a while, and sometimes even on the same day of the week. So after a while, you know everyone who works there. At least I do. And they usually recognize me because I'm the container lady. So let's be honest. Oh, the container lady's here again. And sometimes I forget to bring my own containers. And they would be like, oh, it's okay. We have Tupperware. Just bring it back next time. You're going to be back like in a week anyway.
So bringing your own containers is one. Do you bring your own silverware, straws, napkins? What do you do?
I don't usually have everything with me because I'm usually, creature of habit, right? I know what I'll do today. So in the morning, I usually have I always have a backpack, and I would throw in, I never have cutlery. Oh yeah, my husband does, but we never need it. So I throw in, let's say, a food container. Sometimes I don't even have a food container. Then I just have, it's called a furoshiki. It's Japanese. It's a piece of cloth, basically, or a dish towel. And then I'll ask for a sandwich. That's because I usually have sandwiches in coffee shops very often. And if I have it to go, I just tell them, oh, it's okay. Just put it into this piece of cloth, and I'll just roll it up in this Japanese technique, and tie the knot, and then you can take it. It's super cute, by the way. It looks so cute and so appetizing. Well, anywho, and sometimes if I know I'm gonna have my coffee to go, I usually have a mason jar, and I just ask them. And I'm a bit into knitting and sometimes crocheting, and I have a little cozy that I have a few knitted cozies and a few crochet cozies for my mason jars, and that looks so cute and adorable. And so I usually get my coffee in a jar, a water bottle, and that's about it. Oh no, and some handkerchiefs.
Okay.
And that's about everything I need to get through my day. Zero waste.
I'm glad that we are discussing being cute along with zero waste, because that's a great little side note, how it's going to appear. I want to press you kind of a little bit in terms of spontaneity. In California here, they implemented 10%, or not 10%, 10 cents per bag fee to kind of incentivize customers to bring their own shopping bags. A long time ago. We've had it for forever, and I still forget my bags. I feels like every third time or something. So what if you don't have an appropriate container and you decide to you want a coffee? What is there room for some spontaneity in zero waste life? And give us the tips if you arrive there. You don't want to use the one use coffee cups. Like what is a person to do?
That's also, when I relocated to Germany, I was so amazed because now they have reusable coffee cup systems, different coffee shops, they have the same system. So you can get their reusable cup for a deposit of, I think, $2, and then you can give it back at the next coffee shop, and they'll give you your deposit back, which is amazing. So that helps a lot. But for me, usually I've never even used that, because it's I don't know, usually with my coffee, it all a matter of it's all a matter of habit. There's always the option to have the coffee for here in a real cup or mug, and sometimes I'll just ask them like, can I have it in a real cup, in a glass, and I'll just return it. And usually people are pretty nice about it, especially
That's a good idea.
Yeah, especially if they've seen you before, you're regular, then they're usually like, yeah, you know what, just bring it back tomorrow.
You said it's taken you about six years to get to a place where you could say that you live a Spartan lifestyle with not very many possessions. Can you?
Spartan, yeah, that's what my mom always says.
A lot of people deal with feeling, even if they don't care about zero waste, they still want to declutter. Give us some of your tips on how your thought process of how you've decluttered.
Actually, it's my husband. He was just like, okay, can we get rid of that? We haven't used that in years. And was like, oh, that's true. So let's donate it. And it felt good. It felt like, okay, we have more clarity at home. And what we did was to make it a game. I like to gamify things because I have no self-discipline. So I need tricks, everything, every help I can get. So we set a timer and we were just like, okay, 5 things, 50 minutes, and both of us will run around our home and try to get 5 things that we are 100% certain that we wouldn't miss. Make a little game out of it, and 5 things are so easy to find in every household. Or sometimes like, okay, 20 minutes, junk drawer, go. And I feel like that helps a lot to find like, make little games, don't do too much at once. At least for us, that's our strategy. Because if I have to think about, I don't know, decluttering a whole closet, that's just too much for me. I would be like, oh, let's do it tomorrow. And the next day I would be, maybe tomorrow. I'd never get around to do that.
In your blog, you have tips about how people can use less things or make them at home. What about tampons and pads for women who are menstruating?
Well, they're called menstrual cups. I don't know if you've tried them, but the thing is, I don't menstruate anymore because I use as a contraception. I use an IUD, so I don't get my period anymore. But most women that I know that use the menstrual cup love it. They say it's kind of like pretty similar to a tampon, but it's, how to describe it? It's like a little silicone cup that you insert and it catches the blood, and you can empty it into the toilet and then rinse it out, clean it. You can sterilize it by boiling it with water, pretty straightforward, and you can reuse it over and over again up to 10 years. And it's also a lot easier to deal with than tampons, because tampons you have to change every 4 hours, or it can be pretty much dangerous health-wise, because you can get the toxic shock syndrome from tampons, and you cannot get that from menstrual cups, which is amazing. And with menstrual cups, you get a window of 12 hours to deal with it. So during a workday, you don't have to worry anymore. You can get home and then deal with everything, not during the day. So that's a huge plus. And then there's also pads made of cotton. And I have cloth pads, and I use them like every couple of months, and I love them. It's really nice to know everything is safe. It's weird to say that, but it feels like it's more, I don't know, it's less a diaper. Like sometimes I feel like those disposable pads feel like they don't clammy, and I feel like cotton pads are so much better. But that might be so personal.
What about floss and Q-tips? Those 2 things to me seem almost impossible to replace, because those are 2 things that I do not want to personally reuse.
I'm with you. So I have floss that's biodegradable. There's silk floss, which isn't for vegans. I still have silk floss that I still use up. but there's also supposedly compostable and biodegradable floss. There's a lot of debate because I tried to compost that vegan compostable floss and it didn't work. So I have a worm bin in my kitchen. Yes, we live in a studio apartment and we compost in our kitchen.
What did you? I don't even know what you just said. Worm bin?
It's a worm bin. It's kind of like, it's a box and we have little worms in there that look like earthworms, and they eat our kitchen scraps and poop out compost. Yeah,
it's like having a compost bin, but worms, they will digest the food quicker and their excrement is very good for the yard.
Okay.
And also in regular compost bins or in the yard, they're the same worms in it to help break down everything. So yeah, we have that in the kitchen, and it doesn't smell, which is funny considering that usually your trash can smells. It just smells kind of like earthy.
Okay.
Which is, I don't know, it still amazes me. And so I tried to compost floss, the compostable vegan floss, and it didn't work in my case. And I've heard from many other people who tried the same in their backyard composters that it also didn't work. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's true that there's vegan floss that's truly compostable. But yeah, so floss is an issue. And what was the other thing? Oh, Q-tips. What do you use it for?
My ears.
Your ears.
I don't even know if that's like healthy. I know, but I don't go in. It's like this part, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just feel like I need to do that after every shower. It feels yucky.
Oh yeah, I do that too, but I just use a washcloth. Yeah. So like really old school, just a cloth. Okay. And also I used to use Q-tips for makeup, you know, with my eyeliner, the winged eyeliner. I'm not that good at it. So sometimes I would have to remove it and retry the winged eyeliner. I would use a Q-tip, and now I don't do that anymore. I have cotton pads.
Okay.
That I made myself, and I would just twist them.
You make cotton pads yourself?
Oh yeah, it's just out of scraps.
Okay, so it's just cotton cloth or something, like an old t-shirt?
Yeah, just like an old t-shirt. You can also crochet some. There are a lot of cute crocheted cotton pads that you can make. Look at, well, Etsy obviously, but just Google it or look at.
Okay.
Try to find like DIY instructions on YouTube. They're so easy to make, and they're so cute. They're so cute, and you can just twist them and use them similar to a Q-tip to get rid of makeup that shouldn't be there, that's smudged.
Okay.
So that's also pretty easy. That's a simple swap, and it's also better because I felt like, you know, to remove makeup, I also use my cotton pads that I made myself, and olive oil. I feel like a lot of people they're always on to coconut oil, but I feel like olive oil works so much better, and it's the perfect makeup remover.
I've tried coconut oil as an eye makeup remover, and it often hurts my eyes a little bit.
Yeah, try olive oil.
I'll try olive oil. Tell me about moisturizers, because I don't find coconut oil works as well as the lotions that I can buy, but they are all in plastic.
It depends on, I feel with skin we're so different. So what works for me is coconut oil for some reason also doesn't work for me. Maybe my skin needs a bit more. So I will sometimes mix my own poison. I would usually use, I like canola oil for some reason. It works really well with my skin. Olive oil a little bit, especially a bit more in the winter time, and coconut oil. And I just eyeball it. I don't really have measurements. I'm just like, oh, it's summer, it's gonna be more canola oil and less olive oil and a bit of maybe a tablespoon of coconut oil. And that's pretty, and cocoa oil is also very good. I just tried that recently because my zero waste shop started selling it in bulk. It was like, okay, gonna try that one. So that works really well, using cooking oils basically, but not too much. That's what I did in the beginning, because I was like, okay, I was used to moisturizer, and I would, put a good amount. Well, what is it? Kind of like maybe 2 peas, and that would be the amount. And with oil, I was kind of like, yeah, just be generous, and that clogged up my pores. So the secret is, after you've washed your face and your face is still kind of moist, you apply the oil, but not too much.
Yeah. And there isn't anything that's non-oil that would be, because I couldn't even put a pea of oil. I would just be pizza face the next day.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we can do that's not oil based, that's a good zero waste moisturizer, or that wouldn't continue to come into container, like any kind of do it yourself? Aloe vera. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. I have a huge plant over there. Okay. And it just, you can harvest 1/3 of the plant, and it can still regrow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I've heard, yes.
And
yeah.
it's
They are
so
amazing.
good. And you can use the gel. And what I do, I have an ice cube tray, and I would just chop it up, the gel, and then put it into the ice cube tray, and then just always take 1 little cube to portion it out.
Cool tip. Okay.
Yeah, and that's so good. And also face masks. Aloe vera, a little bit as a face mask, or that's so good. And cucumbers, like the classics, cucumbers on your eyes. I do that.
Yeah, they depuff.
Coffee grounds to exfoliate, and it's so good for your skin. You can feel the coffee oils, and my skin afterwards is always so smooth.
Yeah, that is a really fantastic tip. I have tried that, and it's better than any like scrub that you'll buy at a store. Yeah. What about your take on digital use and in the environment? You said something on Instagram that it's like 2 emails has the carbon footprint of 1 letter. That was why, first of all, and then how do we minimize our impact with the devices that we use every day?
Well, because with the internet, how does the internet work? We need different servers, and those need to be those are computers, and they need to be online and running, and they need electricity 24/7. And very often they are not really powered by renewable energy. It makes sense, right? And also the hardware eats up so much of the resources that we have, like scarce things like metals. And that's just so bad for the environment. And the more we stream, the more data that go through these servers, the more electricity something uses. So if we stream, I like YouTube, I like Netflix, but I know it's not really good for the environment.
The term zero waste is really a misnomer, isn't it? Because we all produce waste, and I think what it does is scare people that they can't get there, and so they don't even try.
I agree.
Yeah. What do you think about the government? Like in the United States, we read that this is in your book, which is called Zero Waste: Simple Life Hacks to Drastically Reduce Your Trash. You share that in the United States, 36% of our garbage is recycled, and then 12% is burned off for energy, which means that more than half of what we get rid of is actually dumped, that anything we use and then get rid of is dumped into a landfill. But
it is.
Countries in Europe that have, banned landfills?
Yeah, many countries in Europe actually don't have, the landfills of the past, they're still there, but they don't landfill anything anymore. It's the same in Sweden and Germany, where I live now. And it's whether or not that's good is debatable, because a lot of things are incinerated instead. And I would say the sky is the new landfill, because it all ends up in the atmosphere. So that might not always be better. But that's a huge systemic issue.
What are some of the government policies you see in Europe that we could think about implementing here that would help us have less trash? Americans are notorious for throwing things away.
There are several things that could be, well, adopted. I think Germany is very advanced when it comes to recycling infrastructure. Everything is kind of categorized and sorted into different bins and collected. I think that's very important that you have curbside recycling collection, because it makes it more convenient. If it's more convenient, more people will do it. And also there's kind of like, first of all, there's an education for all of that. In Germany, people grow up with learning how to recycle, and it's just household knowledge. Everybody does it. If you don't, people will think you're weird. So that's kind of the other way around. So the social standard is different. And there's a bit of social shaming going on. If you don't do it properly, your neighbors will talk about you and be like, oh, too stupid to recycle. Well, and also there is, like I said, Germany has this system, this reuse system for a lot of bottles, for some jars, I think milk bottles, yogurt jars, and it's a Germany-wide pool. So that means all the jars, they are standardized, and you can buy different products from different brands in the same jar, and you return them to the supermarket, grocery store, or any grocery store. They have to take it back, and that goes to the next company that will fill it up in your region, which is amazing. It saves a lot of transportation emissions and costs as well, because the jars don't always need to be reproduced. So that's a really nice system. But then again, it's also not perfect. I feel like a lot of municipalities all throughout North America are already doing a really great job when it comes to recycling and educating people how recycling works in school, as well as, like to the public in general.
Are there any things, pieces of single-use things that we use that people think are recyclable but are not?
A lot of things people think are recyclable, but they are not. I think actually a lot of people think a lot of plastic products or even packaging is recyclable, but it is not, or there is no system to collect it for it to be recycled, or there is no system to, or sometimes there is a system, but it's more profitable to just incinerate it for energy. So it's very confusing sometimes because things that are recyclable very often don't get recycled. So just seeing it's recyclable doesn't mean it's what's going to happen to it.
Right. But what are some of the things that people think that are not? Like, do you have some examples so people are, is certain types of plastics, you said, like what would I, if I go to the grocery and it's, there's a cup that's plastic and a bowl that's plastic. And I mean, how do I know what really is and what really isn't? Is there a number on the bottom of it or a code, or how do I decide?
There are numbers on the bottom of it indicating that they are recyclable, but sometimes if there's a number on it, it doesn't mean it's actually recyclable, because for example, there could be a sticker on it. The sticker could mean that the whole wrapper could not be recycled. Maybe a sticker like 50% off, because the sticker cannot be, like, there isn't a person in a waste management facility that's going to rip the sticker off. So the plastic bit gets recycled. So whenever you have different kinds of materials combined, it makes it so hard to recycle. And I think of cartons. I've seen this. Now the new water is not bottled anymore. It's sold in cartons, but cartons are so notoriously hard to recycle because they consist of different layers of material. It's not just paper. There's aluminum, there's plastic, and it's so hard to separate those layers again to recycle each and every material.
Dotsie, those, when you buy almond milk or something and you want it to be the ones you don't have to put in the fridge.
Shelf stable, right?
Those cannot be recycled, even though they seem like they're paper.
Any kind of carton, because like for beverages, for liquids, we think it's easily recyclable, but it's not, because it's not really just paper, or else it wouldn't be able to hold liquid. that wouldn't make any sense. So there's
It's like
always
paper and
different
plastic
layers.
combined. Is it like
It's
layers
paper,
of?
aluminum, and plastic, and
Okay.
sometimes in more than just 3 layers, sometimes up to 12 layers.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I saw Shia make her own almond milk, so she has a very
I
easy
do.
tea for almond milk. I think that might be on her site, but or if you just Google it, folks, then that's one of the answers, is to make more of our own things at home, right?
And it's so easy. And I feel the taste, it's so bad because I'm allergic to almonds, so I can only have a tablespoon, but I love almond milk. It's tragic, I tell you.
It's horrible.
Yeah, but I feel it's so much more delicious because it's nothing more than water and almonds, and you can taste the almonds, especially if you roast them. Oh, and I'm allergic.
Yeah, that's awful.
I know, right?
Luckily, we vegans have 12 other milks to choose from, at least.
Exactly.
To the dairy drinkers, they just have, cow's milk and goat milk, maybe.
Yeah, I love cashew and oat milk.
There you go. So before we go, is there anything you can leave our listeners with, a tip on how to start? Like somebody who's listening right now, could you give them a suggestion that they might do? And I know it's highly personal, but
try to find inspiring people that you can follow on social media, because you get them on your phone, in your life, and they always have fun tips. And then you can be like, oh, that's awesome. I want to try almond milk today. I have everything at home. That's what I'm going to do. Start small. Why not just go with almond milk? Why not try a new soap? Why not try something that makes you excited? Like, oh, I've always wanted to make my own moisturizer. I've always wanted to make, I don't know, something fun out of an old t-shirt that I still had. I still have a pile of old t-shirts next to me, and they're there because I intend to make t-shirt yarn out of them and to crochet baskets, because I love crocheting and it seems like a fun project to do. And whatever it is, don't think too big. Just do what you think you can do today or tomorrow and have fun with it. And once you're done, you can try something new. Little baby steps.
The baby steps things are huge, because habit change is tough for people.
Oh, yeah.
You've definitely taught me, for people that aren't as, I think you're very, very creative, and I am not. So people that are like me and not as creative, I am excited to buy my own soap that's just open, the Castile soap. That was a game changer when you said that for me, because I buy all of our soap in the package, right? Like Ivory soap. So I've seen all of those open soaps at the store. Boom, done. Can go do that. And no more Ziplocs. I'm going to get silicone ones. And I'm also going to use, for tomato, avocado, and onion, the bowl on the plate. So for everyone that's like me, those are the couple things that we can all commit to and stick to.
That's awesome. Just try to eliminate disposables and use a rag, a cloth instead of paper towels. There's also, it's a small swap, but it makes all the difference.
Yeah, on your website about how there's microplastics when we use sponges, so best to use cotton cloths. But also, speaking of cotton, in our clothes, when we wash them, little microplastics, this is what I learned from you, come out of them. And so it's really important to wash on a gentle cycle, so that, right?
Yes, and there is one washing bag, it's called the Guppy Friend, that can filter out some microplastics, some microfibers. So you can stuff everything, like, I always feel like activewear, it's never cotton, it's never natural fiber. So you stuff everything in there and it filters out, I think, a pretty high percentage of those microfibers.
Wow.
And then you can just grab it and dispose of it. The Guppy Friend.
So it's a friend of fishes, like Dotsie said. Dotsie is perfect for you because you worried about the fish. And now, look, you can help them. And also because you wear a lot of active wear.
For sure. I love it. Okay, I'm set. I've already found my silicone bags. on Amazon. I like to do things immediately. Ziplocs are out of my life. Thanks to you, Shia. Thank you so much.
See, whatever gets you excited.
You're
That's
right,
what I'm
you're
talking about.
You're right. You're so right. I know.
That's so cool to see your energy, that spark.
Tell us where we can find you, Shia, online so that you can inspire more and more people.
You can find me on social media @_Wasteland Rebel_ on Instagram, on my blog wastelandrebel.com. And I also have a book out that you have kindly mentioned before. It's 0 Ways, Simple Life Hacks to Drastically Reduce Your Trash.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All the way from Germany, Shia. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun with you.
Hey, folks. Okay, back by very popular demand is our plant-powered plate fridge magnet, which you are going to receive for free if you leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. So here are the details. Just write your quick review. Does not need to be long, does not need to be a whole story. Just be honest and speak from the heart. Then take a quick screenshot of the review you wrote and email it to us at podcast@switchforgood.org. That's podcast@switchforgood.org. And include your mailing address so we can send you a power plate. We are doing this because the more reviews we garner, the higher we go in search results, which means more folks will learn about our podcast. So the power is in your hands. Leave us a review and zoom, your power plate arrives at your doorstep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.